Good day, everyone. I am Rachel, the reporter today. So let's talk about the verbal and nonverbal communication. So I start the lesson 2, the rules when sending a message. First is use clean, simple language. Speak distinctly and not too fast. Second, pay attention to your body language, making sure it is congruent with your message, or maintain appropriate eye contact and utilize gestures. Third is do not overwhelm or overload the receiver with information. Break up lengthy or complex messages into several parts so it can be more easily followed and understood. Then lastly, ask for comments, questions, or feedback so you will know whether you are being understood. Lesson 2.1, Guidelines in your written communication. When writing a written communication, these are the things we need to learn to avoid some common problems. First is be sure you understand who your audience is, what they need to know, and how they want the information presented. Second, organize your material before starting to write and organize that you may need to make several revisions. Third, use language that is professional but do not overuse jargon. 4. Avoid slang and language that could be seen as judgmental, derogatory, or that could be interpreted in more than one way. Fifth, use direct, clear language rather than tentative, inspired words. 6. Anticipate the reader's question and answer them. 7. Adhere to the KISS or keep it short and simple principle. 8. See the format required by your agency. 9. Make copies of all written communication that is sent out of the office, including correspondence, reports, and grant. Then lastly, make any modifications suggested by your supervisor. Avoiding some common problems, the difficulties and syntax. First is the language sounds, the mispronunciation of unfamiliar words, the enunciation, and lastly, the grammar, which is rules for combining words into sentences and sentences into higher order structure of paragraph chapters and so on. It creates negative impressions in the minds of your listener. Then the enunciation is the clarity of the information of each of the component sounds in a given word. The common grammatical problems, they have three categories. First is the subject-verb disagreement. Then the example of that is, it don't matter to me. Yung don't is mapapalitan ng doesn't because it is a subject-verb disagreement. Then, second is using inappropriate verbs. Example, ain't she sweet? Yung ain't is magiging isn't. Then third, the expressions, which is a group of words that have intended meanings very different from their literal interpretations. Then the example of this is the slang expression, which define the lead to identify specific subgroups in a culture that tend to last for only brief periods of time. Second is the euphemism, which is the expression that refer to sex, bodily functions, and other difficult to discuss topics in a deliberately non-direct way. Third is the jargon, which is terminology that generally emerge from a need for very precise terms to describe specific events. Then for the gender specifications, which is using male or female gender specific nouns or pronouns when neutral terms may be more appropriate. Then next, symbol object confusion, which is the problems that occur when a communicator forgets that a label represents only some portion of a referent and it is not referenced itself. Then the labeling, using a form of the verb rab to be in order to imply that single word unaccurately describe a person. Then last, the polarization, which is the tendency to divide experience into extremes, ignoring middle ground. And that is the example of the expressions of the common grammatical problems. They have seven categories of non-verbal symbols. First is the physical appearance. It refers to the body characteristics such as height, colors, like hair, weight, and shape. This can indicate physical grooming habits, athletic ability, and genetic background, and so on. Then second one is the body movement kinesis. It is the study of a body movement in communication. They have four categories of body movement. First is the facial expression, which defined it can be used to convey a wide range of emotional messages like happiness, interest, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and concern. Then the second one is the eye contact, which is the gazing directly to someone's eyes is a special type of facial expression. Then third is the gestures, the hand and the upper body movements or emotions like clenched fist, crossed fingers, raised arms, and hands on upturned thumb, and etc. Then lastly, the body stance. It refers to posture, configuration of arms and legs, and the distribution of body weight and overall quality of movement. These are the four categories of the body movement kinesis. Then third is the paralanguage. It includes the voice qualities such as a speaking rate or pitch and pitch range, pitch variety, rhythm, and tempo of speaking, rapidness and tone. It also includes giggling, laughing, whispering, and a special category of sounds called vocalized pose. And it is involves also the use of silence like air or a throat clearing. And this is the five common paralanguage problems. First is the nasality, second shrillness, third softness, fourth monotone, and last slow rate. The nasality is the cause by talking through the use of nose. Then second, the shrillness associated with anxiety or stress and results from vocal cords that are stretched and lensed. Then third, the softness. It is speaking too softly for the context are easily interrupted or ignored. And monotone is no variation in pitch. Then last, the slow rate. The fourth categories of nonverbal symbols is the touch, which is the use of hands, forearms, shoulders, hips to send messages. Example like hepatic, the study of touch in communication. Fifth is the artifacts. They have two artifacts, the personal artifacts and the public artifacts. The personal artifacts is the object people were on carry near their body or bodies, such as objects generally belong to only one person and are shared with only those or close friends or relatives. Then public artifacts is those objects that many people share as group or culture. Those objects symbolize the taste, values, finances, ethnic background, or other characteristics of the group of culture they represented. Next is the time chronomics, the appropriate use of the social and cultural expectation, and it is plays an important role in setting expectation for an interaction. Then lastly, the space and the territory proxemics. The space is the actual number of inches or feet that separate communicators. Then the territory generally influence how much personal space a person can expect to have. So we are going to the lesson 3, that is the functions of nonverbal symbolizing. First is the substitute. It is the signs can be used as substitute instead of letter or words. Or hand movements can also be used to stand for letter, letters or words. Then second is the reinforce. It can illustrate, emphasize, or direct attention. Illustrate is hand gestures to illustrate something, say height of a friend or the size of the fish. The emphasize is in speech. Raise the volume of the voice to emphasize a main point. Then the direct attention is by pointing the way using the index finger. Third is the contradict. It is where the listeners doesn't like to hear what the communicators or speaker says or talking about or what he's doing. And then fourth, control interaction. The nonverbal symbols such as gazing directly into someone's eyes, looking right or left, leaning forward or backward, nodding and gesturing can all indicate whether you wish to speak, wish to continue listening to your partner, or wish to surrender the floor. The eye contact is the important symbol for controlling interaction. It can encourage the speaker to continue, whereas a lack of eye contact often results to termination of speaker messages. Next is the create impressions by using nonverbal symbols. Images can be in of your listener that can influence the overall impressions they have of you. Or example of that is in grooming, personal belongings, or the tone of voice. Then sixth is the establish the environment. It all non-verbal components of the setting such as furniture, lighting, temperature, or are some of the important elements in the environment. Then lastly, the provide relational environment. It is all non-verbal symbols can indicate linking, interest in interacting, and status and power differences. They have three: the liking, the interest interaction, then last the status and power differences. What is liking? Examples of that is smiles, touches, and sitting or standing close together can indicate liking for someone. Then the interest of interaction is like someone but you find it difficult to pay attention what the person is saying. Then last is you may find the you may find that you are willing to wait longer to people or for people of higher status or people you want to impress than they would wait for you. That's all. Thank you.